Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Indian Doctor Podcast. I'm changing it up each week instead of saying what's going on, what's happening, like we said last week, if you guys remember. So this week we're joined by a very special guest. She is an avid student of human behaviour. With this, she has mentored people she's mentored people to help find a sense of fulfilment in their life. She has helped others learn more about themselves and who they are, along with helping them change their perceptions and overcome their life challenges. She's also the only senior certified facilitator in Europe for the Demartini Method, which I'm pretty sure we'll dive into during this podcast. So everyone say hi to Manmeet. How you doing?
Hello. Hi, Indy. Hi, Jazz. Nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Looking forward to what unravels this evening.
Unravels. Yes, look how powerful the words are. You know, one thing I've just realized, Indy, when we have women on the show,
yes,
they're just so much more lively, aren't they? The bloke's just a bit dead man sometimes. You know, the banter.
I think we've only had like two blokes, but okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, two blokes or two women?
We've had two blokes. We've had more women than men.
All the women are good, man. You know what I mean? Like, I remember Suk's really good. My meat is just like, she's just straight.
Your missus is definitely going to let you sleep peacefully after she hears this podcast. 100% now you've said that.
I am a champion of women, man. There's nothing wrong with that, okay?
This guy.
So how was your day?
I heard you and Karan had a run-in on the weekend.
We did. Yeah, it's very synchronous because a road I don't usually use. So I'll let you know the little run-up of the story, actually. It's quite funny.
Okay.
We were going over to my brother's house to celebrate Father's Day a little bit earlier because my brother had a show on Father's Day. So we did it on Saturday. I drove all the way to his house. And so my mum passed away in February. And we have a last frozen butter chicken sauce left over.
Oh, that's wicked, man. Yeah.
Okay.
And so my brother was like, we're only going to use mum's, last food for special occasions. So we thought, Father's Day was a definite great occasion to use it. So there I am, like going, okay, great. I've packed stuff over, going over to my brother's, got the sauce, got everything, marinated the chicken the night before, got all the way there and realized I forgot the chicken in the fridge.
No.
Basics.
The basic ingredient for butter chicken.
We'll have the butter kha lenne hain. We'll have the cure, right?
You will eat the butter, yes.
We will eat the butter.
So I'd gone from my brother's house all the way home and then was on my way back again, which is when I saw Jazz on the road, on Edgware Road. And I was like, does that look like Jazz? Is it him? He doesn't live here. So I'm like, yeah. You know, like when you do that, beep, beep, hi, and you're like...
No, that makes it sound like...
Did he shit himself? That's what I want to know. I think he shot himself.
In that story, it sounds like it was very like royal, right? Whereas actually, this is much more of a desi story, right? You got this person in this nice big Audi, yeah? Audi?
Yeah.
Right, it's big like decked out car Indy, and it's a big horn, beep, 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 beep. And I was like, what the hell is going on? But the thing is, it's London, right? So you just think driver,
someone's horning, right? Yeah.
Right, because it's the only place outside of India you hear like horning like that. And I'm like, it's just London people being rude, you know?
Yeah.
And then my wife Shindy, she's like, yo, I think that woman's horning at us. And obviously she didn't know who it was.
Was she horning and waving at the same time?
I don't know. I didn't look straight away. I was like, just ignore her. It's fine. Don't worry. But then you just persisted.
Maybe she'll go away.
Yeah. But then obviously, curiosity.
You're just exaggerating. It was one horn.
Karan sat there thinking it's some crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yes. No. You did say my name. You did actually. And then I went there and I was like, oh, this is Manmeet. This is you. I've seen you on Zoom. I've seen you online, but I've never seen you.
Yeah.
And,
so even then, we didn't get to see like in person properly. Just hi bye on the street, which such a desi thing to do, but yeah.
Were you holding up traffic?
Like
a split second.
Okay, fine. Because I know people in London have no patience, man. They'll be like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Again, Londoners, man. But no, it was divine intervention. You're right. There was like, we literally got out of the car. We were about to go in the building. You went past. Divine intervention.
Well, I forgot the butter chicken. Divine perfection.
There you go.
Was the chicken good though? That's what I want to know. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
Was the chicken good?
It was. It really was some memories of my mum that came back, which is great because we got to taste the food, and so it was good. Yeah, really nice.
Lovely. And so dad was happy and you celebrate. Is that normally what you guys do? You just get together and just chill? Is that the normal thing, or?
Yeah, we would usually get together as the family. So you know, we would usually, I mean, pre-pandemic, would go out to a restaurant, celebrate, just have a nice meal outside. Yeah. Quality time, that's what we kind of call it. I think with everyone being so busy, it's just like, okay, quality time, dinner's out. So we asked him this year, and we did say, do you want to go out somewhere? He said, no, I just want to do it at home. So it's like, okay.
That's
fair play. Fair play. Well, Indy, might as well roll this. What did you do for Father's Day? Just a bit of side context here. I want to guess what your dad did, uncle did. Did he clean something? That's the first question I'm going to ask. 20 questions, right?
No.
You didn't clean something? Right, okay.
No, I'm really thinking now. Did he? No, I don't think he did, no.
Right, what did you guys do?
We just had the family over, man. Everyone came over. What we did do was me and Mum cleaned stuff. We were cleaning like our old wardrobes upstairs. So like
on Father's Day, as you do, man.
Someone had to clean.
So Dad got up. He went to the goddaughter, and when he went there, I was like, okay, he's gone. Me and Mum are gonna start taking stuff out the wardrobes, and we did that. I had my brother come over. He did the same in his old room.
Right.
And literally spent the whole day until about 3-4 o'clock doing that. Then everyone came over, and then we had like food and stuff and chill.
So were you cleaning for them to come over, or was it spring cleaning? Like,
no, I was just spring cleaning because it has to be done, and my next weekends are busy. So I was like, well, I've got a chance. Dad's not here. May as well do it now.
Gotcha.
It wasn't like I woke up and said, forget Father's Day, I'm doing just this. He wasn't here.
Man. Well, maybe it was a tribute to Dad. I don't know. Like I'm going to.
Nah, he vacated the premises, right?
Right.
So
okay.
There you go.
All right. Cool. Well, you know, I was in London when Manmeet saw me, right? And initially, Father's Day was obviously Sunday. I was like, oh, I'd forgotten. So I was like, I should come back on Sunday. Only to find out my dad's booked a holiday with his boys in Scotland, which he left for on Saturday. He didn't tell any of us. He was like, yeah, I'm going to Scotland for a week. So all the dads were together. And then they sent us this video yesterday, which I don't know.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's still there, isn't he? Yeah.
He's still there, man. He sent us this video in our family group. I think basically there's a couple of them that went, but their extended group didn't go. I think this video is for them, right? I think this is like a teaser video as to look what you're missing out on. But initially when I'm watching the video, I thought it was for family. And then towards the end, I was like, this video is not for us. It's clearly for them. And I was just like, okay, they're just having fun, man. So there you go, man. All the dads together. So it sounds like
it's nice.
Had a good Father's Day.
Sounds like a good Father's Day for them, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. In Scotland. So, Indy, take it away, man.
What do you want me to take away?
Do it, man. You're the host, man.
Oh, you want me to ask the questions?
You know, like what you do on the show? You know,
this
like
is
the
because
thing?
Karan had his sister on, and he couldn't hack it. He couldn't hack being the host.
Listen, we have defined roles, okay?
What's the defined roles?
You ask the questions, and I be annoying. Okay, that is the defined roles. And I come in with the doctor stories. Yeah. That's basically it. Okay? Right, okay. Jal.
Okay, so, Manmeet, I've been checking out a couple of your videos. One of the things you've mentioned is people do depression, not they suffer from depression. Could you tell me a little bit more about that and what you actually mean by that?
Yeah, have you warned your viewers? This is going to be a bit of a
heavy one.
A mind beep.
No holds barred. Let's go.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, doing depression is because it's a state that we can change. So before I go on to that, let me backtrack a bit. Basically, depression's just a label that we put on people, and what's really happening in their psyche is that they're comparing their current reality to a fantasy of how they think life should be. And because their life is not living up to that, fantasy, they do depression. The only thing that happens is because the level of depression eventually, depending on how much you're doing depression, which means how much are you actually perceiving things away from the truth. And when I mean away from the truth, it's because you're seeing things to be so negative of your current life. And no matter what you do, it's just down that rabbit hole. Eventually you get to, wanting to commit suicide because you're doing depression for such a long time and you just can't see the other side.
Right.
Whereas basically, so what you're doing is you put your current reality down in this kind of pit. And then when you're equally comparing it to this fantasy of how you think life should be, that fantasy is on a pedestal.
Right.
So both are basically imbalanced perceptions. You
So
have your
this
current
fantasy, is it in your eyes, is it unrealistic for most people?
let's ask you a question. So you guys know what a magnet is, right?
Okay.
Okay. So when you cut that magnet in half, can you ever get one side?
No.
No, because it's always going to be the opposite.
Yeah. No. So you cut a magnet in half, you'll have a positive and negative pole. You cut it in half again, you get a positive and negative pole. So if you can't separate that magnet trying to get a one-sided positive part of the magnet, how can we expect that from life?
Okay. Fair point.
Right.
Okay.
Good analogy. Yeah.
So the fantasy, it's unrealistic because it's all it is, it's all the upsides, it's all the positives, it's all the happy, it's let's just have happiness. When
And
it's
where
that,
in your eyes has that come from? So I agree with you a lot, and both in the coaching space, and people have this version of what happiness, fulfillment, success, whatever that word is you want to label, looks like. So where are they getting this unrealistic expectation from that's affecting so many people?
try $1 trillion industry known as the positive thinking industry.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, because we talked about this pre the show. Tell me about that, because this is something I don't think is talked about in much.
Wait, hang on. Going back to doing depression, do you not think that with doing depression, there's also a thing where people can't just break out of it? They need intervention, like they need actual medication because they're low on a certain chemical in their brain that's making them fall into depression. You can have all these positive thoughts and balance things out in your life, but there are certain things you're going to need to bring you up to a base level, and then you're going to be able to break out of that eventually. Kind of like a crutch.
Yeah, I mean, basically what's happening in the mind is when you're seeing something to be positive, you're creating certain chemicals in your brain. And when those chemicals are being created too much, that's also a detriment to the body. Okay, I know Jazz will probably expand on that. And when you're doing the other side, when you're doing perceived negative thinking, because basically the positive side of things is, it's the endorphins, it's the encephalons that are all released within the body. It's that dopamine effect. And when you're doing perceived negative thinking, it's the chemicals that are then released. If you do too much of that, that's what is called a chemical imbalance.
Absolutely.
So if you can, like you said, people think that they can, they need to just change it by taking medication. But the very pill that they're taking to balance out their chemistry, if they can do it in the beginning of where the thought actually starts, then you're going to create a balanced body from a balanced chemistry because you have a balanced perspective. Does that make sense? I love to just give this. I mean, I do this with 2-3-year-olds, right? When I give them this, and they really get it. So I want people to understand why. Why am I saying that you can change your perspective? Because I also like things really simple. So I know Jazz will go. You can do the whole doctor, sciencey stuff. But let's just say the part in the brain that you know as the hypothalamus. Let's call it the chemist, right? And now that chemist in our brain needs a prescription to release drugs within our body. So because it releases those drugs, depending on what the perception is, whether it's a negative or positive perception, it creates a positive or negative feeling because those chemicals basically go through our body and they, vibrate because they latch on to these, cells and they vibrate to create the feeling, right? Now, unless we know what that perceived negative or positive thought is to then create that feeling, it's not going to know what to do. So then I ask the question usually, well, if this chemist is waiting for the prescription to release the drugs into our body, where's the prescription coming from?
But then with that,
Hang on. So let's just answer that question. Where's the prescription coming from?
I think, well, I don't agree with the prescription analogy because with the prescription itself, it's hard to it's hard to simply label something as saying your feelings are being perceived by your chemical imbalance in your head of your hormones is being perceived by the things that you're taking on as being positive and negative. I don't think that's have I broken up again? Love
Sorry,
it.
come back in.
Am I back again?
No, you're back.
Yeah,
you're
just
back.
say the
that
same
again.
question again.
So I don't agree with that, because the chemist analogy I don't think fits in that sense. If we take a step back and you think, okay, I'm X person, which is, say if I've had a happy experience, that's not going to make all my hormones throw out of whack, even if it's like massively in and out of, if I have like overwhelming positive experiences or overwhelming negative experiences. I don't think that's messing with your hormones on a chemical level. I think that's much deeper, and that's not just dependent on positive and negative feelings. It's got to be more than that.
No, you're right. The feeling is created afterwards, right? The feeling is created based on, so when you perceive something, you take it through your senses, okay? And when you take it through your senses, you make a meaning. You just said that I could have loads of positive experiences, but ask me about those experiences. I'll show you the downsides, and you now no longer see it as a positive experience, because that becomes a balanced experience. You know, Shakespeare said it beautifully, right? He said, nothing is good and bad in this world. It's just your thinking that makes it so.
Exactly.
Which
Everything
means,
is perception. Yeah.
which means that everything is neutral until I'm going to not just say you, Indy, because we all do, until we judge it with our narrow minds, good and bad.
Right.
So what happens is, when you look up actually, when you understand what really a memory is actually a stored imbalanced perception of either positive or negative. The moment you integrate both, because now that neuroscience has proved it a lot more, you can't actually have one without the other. So your mind is actually holding full quantum of both positive and negative, but you're conscious of one and unconscious of the other. So now you label something a positive experience or negative experience, and then that splits. So you're actually separating the inseparables, dividing the indivisibles, and it sits in your unconscious mind until you go back in, ask quality questions, and balance it, because that's where true gratitude lies. Now, when you have imbalanced perceptions and it's doing chemical imbalances, that's because something you're thinking and perceiving is imbalanced.
But are the chemical imbalances simply caused by the positive and negative, or is that oversimplistic?
No, it's not oversimplistic. It plays a huge part.
Okay.
But of course, whatever what you're putting into your body as well can create chemical imbalances, like in terms of eating foods and things, right? If water is typically the most balanced, substance you can take in. Why is that?
Your body's
Because human body's made of water.
pH is neutral. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So if it's a neutral substance and we're taking in, why is that going to cause our body to be more balanced in the same way that our thinking is?
Yeah, but equally, if you have too much water, you can die. So, balance, right?
Yeah.
Just to chime in here, so...
Yeah, tell us something, Doctor.
No, because I sit on both camps, right? There is a science camp, so there is, and I understand what you're asking, Indy. What is the role for medication in... Look, there is depression, and then there's psychotic depression, people hearing voices. There is a role for medical intervention.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hands down, right? But there is a bigger role for before we get to that point where somebody needs to be sectioned and put in a hospital in psychotic depression, right? And so even within psychology or psychiatry, there is a model called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah,
which
that was going to be the next thing I move on to, yeah.
Right, which echoes this thing. You have a thought, which leads to emotion, which leads to behavior. But if you try and address the downstream, simply the behavior, which is what I used to do when I started coaching people, and I was like, why am I not getting results? It's because you have to go upstream. You have to remove these limiting beliefs. I know Manmeet's obviously done NLP. I've done NLP. And the model we're talking about there is, how do we actually get to the point where we can see objective truth? Whereas actually everything, and I use this example all the time. People, it's like, we could look outside. It could be raining. Indy, you could be happy. I could be sad. But the stimulus is exactly the same. So how can we have different perceptions of the same universal external stimulus? It's because our perception is different. But how do we get to the point, and this is my question to you, Manmeet, how do we get to the point of objective truth? How do we see something for what it actually is? I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it's definitely based on quality
He's just dropped the
questions.
microphone on the floor, hasn't he?
Was it the mic or was
I
it the
know
bottle of
he
water?
has.
No,
No,
it's the
it's
mic.
the phone that records everything.
Right. It's back. It's
Don't
back.
worry.
See, it's a good question, and just too much energy in the room, man.
Yeah, I can't, yeah. Okay, so basically, when we look at the fact that it is perception. I mean, you spoke about, you know, people being sections and things like that. I've worked with those kind of people that are on severe medication, and then, like I said, they have a role. I'm not there to tell them to come off the medication. You know, I'm there to say, look, when you feel that there is nothing needed for this medication, you'll come off it. I'm just at the moment currently working with somebody who's just stayed in a hospital as well, and you know, I think it must be about at least 6 weeks out now, and he's not on any sleeping tablets. Already the dosage of the depression tablets have gone down. But the one inspiring one was when I actually went into Nightingale and consulted
Nightingale Hospital, yeah.
yeah, and consulted somebody there a couple of times. But within the first consult, it had a huge impact. And I think within we had about 3 or 4 sessions, and she was referred to me by a client of mine who basically works with nurses. And she was out of there. She hasn't been back since. Why? Because we took the very thing that is causing her to do depression, looked at the other side of certain things where she got her mind into balance. She's not needed to be there. You know what I mean? It's like everything, every single thing, every action, every decision, every perception we're having. You know, we were talking about me and Jazz just meeting on the weekend. It's all happening in a sea of divine intelligence. And so therefore, like, it's all a strategy to get us what we want met most. And we can use the most effective strategy to get the most amount of priorities in our life met. So when you look at the perception that you're asking about, Jazz, you know, how do we actually get to the objective truth? It's by asking quality questions to help you awaken both sides of that magnet, which is what I've learned from the Demartini Method.
Are you able to do that for yourself? I mean, yes, in a coaching scenario, I'm able to ask high quality or high level questions to, you know, get those answers. But can you now, as the coach, do it for yourself, or do you then also need to coach yourself to uncover those parts of your life?
So it all depends on where your ratio of perception is. So, you know, if we take a look at, if you are out of, let's say, a 4-to-1 ratio, 7-to-1 ratio of seeing more negatives than positives, you're going to go, I can't see the blooming order in this. Right. And you're going to be like, no, I can ask the question myself, but I can't see the order. Okay. Which I've done with my coach sometimes. And on the other side, you could be really infatuated with something. You know, it's like when you first time, you know, you see someone and you're like, wow, they are absolutely amazing. And you go, well, like what's the downside to this?
When I saw you in the car. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the downside of that was like, you're asking, who is that? Yeah.
What can I say?
And holding up the traffic, and you know, so when we don't look at the downsides, again, you're going to be like, no, there's nothing. It's that you know, it's that too good to be true, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And what's happening is, in fact, to go back a little bit, is that nature at all levels is trying to bring us back to that objective truth. So if you don't, you know, if your perception is one-sided, if you're taking in something, your physiology is going to try and give you feedback. If you don't listen to your physiology, your intuition is going to kick in. Your intuition is that voice in your head that when you seeing something to be all the positives, it's going in your head going, this is too good to be true. On the other side, when it's perceiving things to be negatives, it's saying there's got to be something good in this.
And on physiology, you're referring to your actual body, basically. If your body starts breaking down.
Yeah, and your illnesses are giving you feedback. You know, they're going to give you feedback to where there are, you know, chemical imbalances or even perception balances. I mean, I myself got to this work because at the time I couldn't walk. When I balanced my perceptions about what was challenging me there, it took within that weekend of my course with my mentor, I walked out without crutches, having walked for about like 9-10 months. You know,
When you
so
say you couldn't walk, let's just be clear. You were
I was on
paralyzed
crutches.
or?
No, I was on crutches. I had a severe inflammation in both my knees and was on crutches and my ankles. So, you know, I was on crutches for the last 8-9 months, you know, but that was when obviously Dr. John Demartini, my mentor and teachers, you know, he talks about this whole mind-body connection. That was the first time I ever experienced and realized, wow, if you balance your mind, it balances your body out. So you've got your physiology, you've got your intuition. Let's go into that in a little while. Let me give you the 4 feedback systems we have to help us come back into balance. So you've got your physiology, you've got your intuition, then you've got social, right? You get up so high and cocky and think you've done something amazing. You can bet your bottom dollar someone's going to come in and bring you back down. Why? Because you're having social feedback to let you know you're above equilibrium, you're out of balance. Similarly, when you're below equilibrium and you're beating yourself down and you're thinking, you know, life, I'm really crap, life's not really worth living, you attract pride building circumstances. It's like this, right? When you're married, I know that I'm not married, but when I would come home and I think I would have an amazing day at work, my mum and dad would remind me of all the stuff I hadn't done for them and let me know, you know, what a bad daughter I am because I haven't done this for my parents, right? On other days, I'd come home and I'd go, oh my God, I've had such a crap day. I'm really bad at what I do. They go, nay, you're not that bad.
Right. So that's that pride building.
It's pride building and humbling circumstances, social feedback to bring you back into balance. We're just not aware of this. People you know, if people saw the reason why they get criticized when they're all cocky and high up, they'll just see it as perfect feedback. It's not it's the universe playing. So that's the third one. Now, if you ignore your physiology, you ignore your intuition, and you ignore the social feedback, you will get so much feedback on a theological perspective. And that's where you attract catastrophic events and, you know, real things to actually, like accidents and, you know, on a nature level, you're attracting it so that it brings you back into balance. It's not to do with this whole, oh, if you think about it, you bring it about, because in terms of like, if you think about something negative, it's going to happen. No.
Law of attraction.
No, it's if you're above equilibrium, you're going to have something to come in and humble you. The humbling is equal to how much you are above equilibrium.
So it's the proportionate amount of humbling or pride that will be given.
Yeah.
And in this system of belief then, so the equilibrium, is that the same for everybody? Do we all live on the same equilibrium, or we have our own equilibriums?
No, it's the balance is of both positive and negatives, right? But obviously in our own perception, anytime we are perceiving something out of balance, you're going to need the other side to come in. I've seen it so much. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm human as much as everybody else. Like, I have so much feedback sometimes, you know, it's so interesting. But when I see that other side come in, I'm less reactive to it, because in a moment that I attract criticism for something, I go, where was I just above equilibrium? I work with a really cool physio team called R&D Physio. And when I was teaching them this about injuries happen in moments of elation and moments of cockiness. And once people recognize that, it helps their healing. And I've sat there and I've watched a football game with one of the football owners of their club. And I've literally sat there and I'm sitting back and I'm going, that player's just about to get injured now. And he's like, how do you know that? Because they just got injured. I was like, because he's showing off and being so cocky to the rest of the players, he's going to be humbled. And let's just do it now. Go to a moment when you both got injured.
I
mean, you can count me out because I've been injured numerous times. Not
his whole life, his whole life's injured. We were professional. We were professional bhangra dancers for a long time.
Yeah, so go to a moment where you got injured.
I broke my ankle doing it. It wasn't because I was cocky. It was because I had a weakness in my ankle that hadn't healed properly for years, and I had sprained it numerous times.
So did you get cocky at the fact you thought you could get back to it when you weren't properly healed?
No, I didn't get cocky. I just wasn't assessed correctly. I wasn't told how to rehab it. I was simply told to rest it, ice it, and just go back to normal. Nobody told me that there's separate steps you have to do to rehab a foot, to rehab the muscles around it. I didn't know that.
No, go to the exact moment that you actually had the injury, the first part of the injury. Listen, I've done this thousands of times. I know.
Which bit? What?
The first injury you got it. The first time you got the injury.
I can't remember because it's been so many. It was playing basketball. Well,
if there've been so many, just go to one.
Okay.
You mean you've injured the same thing again and again?
Sorry?
You've injured the same ankle again and again, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so just pick one time that you injured it.
Okay, I'll pick the one that I broke it then.
The one you broke it? Okay, where is it?
Yeah.
And when were you?
That was us dancing in a practice rehearsal run through with everyone there, all of our team members there.
When was that?
That was 2014, August or September.
Okay, do you mind me asking you to close your eyes and go there and when I say go to the moment, I'm not asking you to remember it from today.
Oh no, I remember everything clearly from that moment. I need to close my eyes. Yeah.
But you're remembering it.
Yeah.
I want you to go to the moment.
Not remembering.
No remembering, because going to the moment is being present in the moment. You're remembering it. Go to the moment where you can actually see, smell, feel everything that's going on around you. That's going to the moment, because I can tell you the only other side of this is going to be there if you're present in the moment.
And go back to sticky, man.
Close my eyes.
Close your eyes, man. Come on.
You can close your eyes or keep it open. It doesn't matter. But as long as I can tell whether you're going to be present. But when you're looking at me right now, that's why when you said I remembered, it wasn't being present.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Are you there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Describe what's going on around you.
We're all running through the whole session. We're about to go into this next segment. I can see the cone that I've got to hit when I'm about to fall and hurt my ankle. It wasn't a good day. It wasn't a good run through. It wasn't a good session. Things were going very difficult. And I tried to do the move.
In the moment right before you tried to do the move that got you the ankle hurt, get really present, Indy.
Mm-hmm.
What was the content in your mind?
Probably thinking that I wasn't doing a good run through and I wasn't fully committing to it. It wasn't making sense.
Okay.
Everything that I was doing on loop in that.
So hold on. So the probably is not certainty. Anytime we're using words like probably.
Okay, all right, fine. I'm certain that everything I did in that run through went wrong. I've got the video that I can watch as well later, but I'm pretty certain that everything I did in that run through didn't go well, and I had a lot of issues with it.
Okay, and in the moment, what is the content in your mind? Because I can tell you right now, if to the degree that you were feeling the shame, you would have been feeling the pride too. Because your mind can't do one without the other. So where were you in that moment, slightly above equilibrium? Where were you thinking you were doing a great job, you were invisible, something, comparing it to something in that moment?
No, I don't think I was thinking that I was good. I was thinking I was doing everything bad and wrong, and things were going incorrectly, and they weren't going on form. And you had the
ankle break in that moment?
Yeah, because everyone was skipping a corner that was meant to be a point you're meant to hit to move off in formation, and our teacher Harpal, he said, don't skip the corner. So I committed to not skipping that corner to make a point that I was going to hit that corner, at least I could do one thing correctly.
Okay, there it is right there.
Let me go and hit that.
Stop. There it is right there. Did you see how you thought you were better because you were going to make a commitment and make sure you were going to hit that spot?
Yeah, because I wanted to overcorrect all of the issues that I'd done before.
That's where you were above equilibrium.
So essentially, when I was below equilibrium, then how do I bring myself up to a normal level then without overcommitting?
No. Can you just use the word overcommitting?
Yeah.
If you just looked at it at that moment, I just want you to recognize though, because in the moment of the injury, that's where you thought, I'm not going to do what every other person is doing here. I'm going to make sure to prove a point. I'm just using your own language back to you.
Yeah. To prove a point, yeah.
Right? So when you are humble, are those the kind of words you would use? I'm about to prove a point.
No, but I don't think I was humble. I think I was trying to overcompensate to make up for the past mistakes that I did.
Yeah, but that's because your mind was perceiving it to be a mistake when in actuality it wasn't. If you'd used the quality questions I'm about to go through in a while, then you wouldn't have seen it to be a mistake. You can take this we've, like I said, I've done it with the footballers, any sports, and that's what I'm saying. Even though you thought you were doing a bad job, the pride building circumstance would have come as well. But here, in the moment of injury, they all happen in the moments that we are slightly above, because the universe is sending it to us to humble us. I'll tell you like a funny story. You might not, I mean, it's not as much as a breaking the ankle, but can you see when you get present, Indy, and you go to the moment, you have the content in your mind if you're willing to look, right? Which at the beginning you're a bit not willing to look. It's like, no, I'm doing this. But when you really got present, and I just heard your language and what language you're using, there's clear, like, we might not like the word cockiness, but there's clear pride in there to go, I'm going to do the thing that everybody else is not doing. Does that make sense? I went to the toilet once, and I was in there, and I was receiving comments from a girl about how much I had lost weight and how much how great I looked. In that moment, I wasn't cocky. I was receiving the comments, but in the content in my mind was, yeah, it's taken a lot of work. That was the content in my mind.
So the moment,
exactly, yeah, because I can embrace both pain and pleasure of actually her comment. There wasn't a cockiness. The moment this is like split seconds. The moment I left the toilet, I kid you not, I had a red blazer on, and I got my collar, and I went, she's right, I look good. And I went outside the toilets, and this man just walked. And you know how some of you men wear some flipping hefty shoes?
Yeah.
You got kicked.
Oh my God, he stepped on my foot, and I was like in excruciating pain. I didn't break anything, but excruciating pain. And he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I just literally held on to him. And because I knew the question in that moment. Now, that's not as quickly as you do it, but I just realized, I was like, where was I just cocky to attract this? And then I realized just a second there, as it happened, I had just got above equilibrium, because you attract this humbling circumstance. And as soon as he's apologizing, I go, it's all right, mate, I just needed humbling. And he just laughed. He goes, what do you mean? And then I ended up sharing it with him, and he's like, that is so fascinating. And then I ended up having a conversation with him. But I was like, the minute that happens, instead of like going, aren't you looking where you're going? And didn't you see me come out? It becomes a thank you. I just needed humbling. It becomes a thank you. There is no other emotion attached.
In this belief system, do you believe that this feedback, let's call it feedback, right? These correction, that's the word I'm thinking about. You either correct up or you correct down. Is it always instant, or can it be a prolonged thing? Because the second part of my question then comes around, obviously we've had discussions about Sikhi, right? And we've talked about Karam and Pana and preordained destinies and things of that nature.
What are
so
those
is your
from?
Yeah, so karma is the first thing I said. So karam would be the way we say it, but karma is the the good and bad. And within Sikhism, we have a belief system which basically says that in this life, if you're doing good things, then the bad that was meant to come towards you will be reduced. But if you do bad things, the good that's going to come to you, it can also be reduced as well. Then the second thing I said was about how some belief systems, Sikhism being one of them, believe that although we have free will, a lot of our things are preordained, right? They're sort of written that things are going to happen. Born on this day, die on this day. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. So how do those two things tie in for you? Because I know you're a very spiritual person as well, Manmeet. So is all this correction instant, or can it be like you can be cocky for a while and then something down the years, like, or down the way will come as a correction? Or is it every time it's instant?
Well, as I said, that you got those full feedback systems. If you're not listening to it, it's happening all the time. Nature is always trying to bring us back to balance. But if you're not listening to the social feedback, and you're not listening to the physical feedback, you're not listening, to your intuition, you're going to get it. Bigger and bigger is going to be the feedback. So if it's
equilibrium for you, is that humility? Is that what equilibrium is?
Humility, where you see no difference between you and others, of course, right? It is equilibrium. But also when you see something, right, as both sides, that's the equilibrium point. And actually, I mean, again, I don't want to go too sciencey, but to the point we can actually measure it, it's at Planck's length. Is that moment of that like real, nothingness. And we don't, and if you take this kind of like straight line being this, as we say, the equilibrium, we don't have that all the time. And anyone that tells you they've reached that and I'm all enlightened, right. And I do, and I'm living that, it is lying. Because in order to have a physical existence, we have to have, emotional charge, either negative or positive. Now, before I knew this work, mine would be really off the charts, really high highs, really low lows, really
big
high
spikes.
highs.
Right.
Yeah. Now they're a little bit more closer to the middle, but it doesn't mean I've ever got rid of them. Because what happens is the moment you bring in one judgment into balance, and that moment of true gratitude and true, love, because it's actually what I say is, you're bringing two sides of your perceptions together to make up love. It's not just supportive. When you reach that, you move on to your next level of incompetence, your next level of judgment of good and bad again. The moment you balance that out again, you move on to your next one. That's what we call life. And earlier you said, whether we call it happiness or fulfillment. Well, for me, those two are very different things, because I have more of a fulfilling life now, knowing that I'm embracing both sides rather than trying to chase the happy life.
I guess it depends on what your definition of happiness is. I guess what you're alluding to there is hedonism, which is pleasure seeking, and people equate happiness with purely pleasure, which it's not. It's really not. What's the other thing I was going to ask you?
Well, hang on. Let me
confidence.
Just hop in then.
No, 1 second. I just remember. How do you define confidence? Or what is your definitions of confidence versus cockiness? Because confidence is a good trait. A lot of people that I work with, and from a coaching perspective, actually what they need is a lot of confidence building so they can carry themselves socially in their work, in their aspects of their life. So how do we differentiate that from being cocky?
Okay, so to answer your question most effectively, I think I'm going to go back to a study called axiology. Okay. Now, axiology, in my perception, is the most important ology of understanding human behavior, but the least studied ology there is. So
what's it mean? So axiology is obviously a study of. What's ax mean?
Axiology. It's the study of values and worth.
Wow, that's really poignant, man. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And it dates right back to the Greeks.
The great
so
philosophy.
And the Greeks knew the importance of axiology, that they made a whole study out of it called teleology, which is all about the end in mind.
Right. Okay.
Which is your true purpose.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So when you take a look at values, so I like to call it priorities. I like to say that we all have a GPS navigating us through our life.
Yeah.
And the GPS, I term as genius priority system. Dr. John Demartini, says it's values. So if we look at this genius priority system that every single individual has, no matter what color, caste, creed, religion they are, every single human being has a hierarchy of priorities from what's most important right down to what's least important. And whatever is most important to us is where we have confidence.
Say that last bit again.
Whatever's most important to us is where we have confidence.
What we value the most, we have most confidence with.
Yeah. Okay. Anything that's low on our priorities, for me, it's cooking.
This is why you're not married. Well, I'm not getting married.
We have low confidence, right? So when people come to me and they say, "Mommy, I've got low self-confidence," I go, "Great. Where have you got high confidence?"
Right.
"No, you're not listening to me." I go, "I think you're not listening to me. Where do you have high confidence?" And I keep asking that question. And what happens is they go, "Oh, I have confidence in this, in my beauty. I've got confidence in bringing up my children. I've got confidence in, my yoga." Great. Now whose confidence are you comparing yourself to, thinking you need to have confidence in that area?
Okay.
So are you essentially saying that it's other people that that are making you feel like you're not confident and therefore you shouldn't listen to them?
Okay, great thing there about making you feel. So going back to my chemist analogy, if we're the ones writing the prescription to our chemist, who's making us feel anything? Right?
Yeah.
Because we're writing the prescription. So someone can say to me, you're a crap coach. I've got a choice to make. I can either go, they're not really know what they're talking about, or I can get my tub of Haagen-Dazs and go under my duvet and go, they made me feel really bad.
But that's because you know you're a good coach. But if I said you're a crap cook, what would you then feel?
I'd be like, yes, you're right. And if you said to me, I'm a crap coach, I go, yeah, in some areas. Right?
Bring the humility in. Okay.
But here's the truth with what you're saying, Indy, is that part, right? Which is that, first of all, no one's going to make you ever in your life feel anyway, unless they physically hit you, okay? Because you are choosing how you want to feel. So if you ever catch yourself or hear anybody going, they made me feel I kind of, well, I go, did they make you or did you choose to? No, they made me. No, they did an action that you made a meaning and a perception and then chose to feel a certain way. Does that make sense? Now, what was it? Sorry, what was your second part? Oh, they're making you feel like you've got no confidence. No. So what's happening is, let's say I took, an area that I am admiring in somebody. Now I'll look to be confident in that area, but because I inject the priorities of that individual into my life, I will beat myself up for not being confident in that area. So this is a great part leading because of this whole axiology. When I said it's the most important study to understand yourself, it's because everything, if it's based on those priorities, the reason I call it your genius priority is because whatever is most important to you, your identity revolves around, you're inspired from within, you don't need reminding to do it. You don't hesitate, procrastinate, frustrate. Those all happen in your lower priorities.
It's a pull, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than a push.
Exactly. And when you're living in there, that's where your genius lies. But what happens is
push, sorry, Karen, just bear that in mind and let finish. Sorry.
No, go on.
Yeah, so it's just when I'm talking to people about motivation, Indy, and accountability and doing something, right? So I use this thing about like should and must, right? Or pull and push, which is if you want to go to the gym because you want to go to the gym, Indy, right? And you want to get in shape because you want to look a certain way, that's a pull for you. But if I'm making you do something, that's an example of a push, right?
I see. Okay,
right, so it's why you're doing something. And what I would say and what Manmeet has just said is when you're in that place that you're talking about, that genius place, that's what I call alignment. When you're in alignment, you're on fire, in flow state, that's it. And I really
that's when
resonate.
and that's when you're living by your highest priorities. So you can
values.
add that one, Jazz, because that's exactly what you're saying. Is when you're in flow, when you're in alignment, it's because Einstein used to say that when you're kissing your girlfriend, a few hours can feel like a few minutes. Why? Because it's a high priority. But when you're waiting for a freight train to go past, few minutes seems like hours because it's clearly a low priority. Yeah. So why, when you're living by your highest priority, because you're in flow, that's why there is no, time. There is no time and space because you're just in flow. And so anything that's lower in your priorities, you will always need outside motivation for.
Correct.
So unless going to the gym, and because I've worked with quite a lot of people who do like the online health coaching space.
Yeah.
Right.
I've said to them, your clients that you work with will always require you to motivate them unless you link whatever job you want them to do to their highest priorities.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes sense. So do you want to be able to do this? Then you have to do that. So if you want to be pain-free, you need to do these exercises to make sure your pain doesn't come back. That's essentially appealing to
it's the why, isn't it? You've got to identify the why
it's appealing to something that they want to do, which will then make it easier for them to motivate themselves to go and do it.
Rather than for the sake of doing something.
Yeah.
But also more than the pain, it's why. Why do you want to be pain-free?
The why is important. Yeah.
Right? So for example, when I was doing stuff and I was required to do steps and walk, okay, the only thing that inspired me was because my family was a high priority, and therefore I included that in my steps. Spending time with my dad, speaking of universal laws and spirituality on our walks is what made me walk, not because my coach told me to walk.
The walk is a secondary outcome then of spending that quality time.
the quality time and also speaking about spirituality
Yeah,
and universal laws
those
is
things are
my
primary.
highest priority.
Right.
So even if it wasn't my dad, if I was going for a walk with you, Indy, and I was like, you know what, let's go for a morning walk, and for an hour we're going to talk spirituality, I'll be there. Okay, but you tell me that walking is to do with, you know, it's just going to help you look good or something. If that's not a priority to me, but if you said to me, guess what, you've got, you know, it's that sometimes we'll only do it if there's a reward or punishment. Okay.
Yeah, literally.
So which is
Right.
yeah, and that's why motivation is a symptom, it's not a solution.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
Inspiration is the solution. So you take anything you ever, that's part of the secret left out of the secret, right? Because if you get a goal and you don't align it with what's important to you, you've got a very low probability of achieving it. But you align it with what's most important to you, you've got a very high probability of achieving it.
I think inspiration as well is one of those things that I heard someone say, which is it needs to be done. It's like bathing, you need to do it daily in order to keep it going. Because if you just bathe once in a blue moon, it's not going to have an effect. But if you inspire yourself each day, then it will have a lasting effect that will carry you on to the future. And that kind of stuck with me, to be fair. So yeah.
And that's true with most things, you know. Like, you know, if you don't train something, you don't do something, you're not going to be. You know, I tell people you don't expect to be in a flow state. You're not going to do the work to uncover who you are, what we represent, what's your authentic self, what values do you align with, what's your vision, your mission, all these things.
What happened with your knees and ankles?
He wants the story. Come back to the story,
man,
and then Indy. After story,
Yeah,
I've got a question. Okay.
I'll tell you the story. But by the way, the best way to keep yourself inspired is live by your priority, not other people's.
So
That's why you don't have to do
values.
you're not then going, oh, every day I've got to do something to keep myself inspired. No, live by what's important to you every day, and you'll naturally be inspired because you're living in inspiration. So with my knees, what happened is I went to India, and
how do all stories start with?
Okay, fill in the blank, going. She went to India, and
right. Okay, so she went to India.
I'm gonna say
she saw a fake doctor who wasn't really a doctor, who injected something into her knees, or she went to a Pind, right? Pind guys are like a local town, and they made Manmeet to do some funky dancing, or maybe she milked some cows. Maybe she milked some cows.
Something gay.
She was milking some cows, right? Yeah. She thought she was really good at getting the dud out, the milk out, right?
Yeah.
And then the equilibrium came down. It was like, that's it. You're good there. Your knees are gone. Bang. Yeah. That's the story. Right, now the real story.
Now the real story.
Yeah.
Great guesses, guys. I went to India, and just as we would from the UK we went over there. You eat nice golgappe and the chaat stuff and all this. Yeah. You know what's coming next, right?
Yeah,
so that's a given. That's a given for people who that's a given for people. So basically I got severe diarrhea over there, and then I came back to the UK, but then so over there I was like, well, that's normal, because anytime I go and that's just normal.
Yeah.
But I came
as soon as you get home, you'll be fine, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought. But that's when I basically came home and I got inflammation in my knees. So I was working at a laser eye surgery clinic in Harley Street, and I thought nothing of it. I was sitting there with one of the nurses, and she's like, what's happened to your knee? I was like, oh, nothing. It's a bit swollen. And she's no, you have loads of fluid in it and you need to go to A&E now.
Both knees or one knee?
First, it was just the left.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it was just the left at the time. And I was going through quite a bit of a challenging period in my life at that time as well, and I'll tell you why. This is probably all, related. And so I went A&E, whatever. They did what they needed to do, but they didn't. Let's say they didn't do the right thing, at the time, based on what feedback I got afterwards. And they did like an overnight procedure straight away, tried to flush out. And then they let me go on the Friday, and then I was back in there again on the Monday. So they didn't know what to diagnose it as. So they just called it reactive arthritis.
Yeah. Which is like we don't know what it is. Yeah.
Because they were trying to, it doesn't mean anything. They kept saying to me, have you been playing some sports? Have you,
Are you
you know,
sexually active?
They're trying to get all of that, you know, and I'm like, no, none of it. And, you know, so so anyway, they go, oh, well, it's just reactive then. Reactive arthritis because you went to India and you got diarrhea there. And I was like, I get that every time I go to India, you know. So anyway, that was and then obviously they kept injecting me with steroids every now and again. They had me on medications that were anti-inflammatories. Again, they weren't helping, but then it spread from my left knee onto my left ankle, and then a little bit slowly onto my right knee and my right ankle as well, and then also onto my eyes as well. So, but it started off on the left. So when I went to see Dr. John Demartini, by the time I'd seen him before, I'd booked onto his course, but that was the, you know, 6-8 months in between. When I went to the course and I went, all right, you say so much about, you know, mind body connection. What's going on with me then?
Right.
You know,
put you on the spot. Come on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he said, right, what's going on? And I said, well, you know, there's inflammation, pretty much mainly in the left knee. And he said, so what are you able to do or not do? I said, I can't bend it and I can't straighten it.
Right.
And he said, okay, so you may or may not know this side of things, Jazz, but you know, mostly on the left side, if you get symptoms and you know, feedback, it's to do with female. On the right side, it's to do with male and business.
Right.
So he said, so which female authority?
Left or right? What?
Any feedback, any ailments, anything you typically get on your left side, will be to do with a female.
Like a woman.
Female or family, yes. And on the right side, just your feminine side. Your right side will be male or business.
Just pause there 1 second. Indy, your multiple full body injuries, which side?
Right.
Okay.
The majority right. I've had some on the left, but they've normally been on the right. Actually, the one I've got at the moment is on my left, so yeah.
Okay. You are medical mystery, mate. We'll leave it at that. Let me carry on with your story.
Yeah, so he said to me, he goes, which side? I said left, and then I told him what I could and couldn't do, and he said, this is the biggest question, that question straight off the top. He goes, so which female authority in your life, like your knees not bending, are you giving into and not being able to stand up to?
Whoa, that's like proper left field, but okay. And then he just didn't say anything because he's forcing you to go to that. And then
I went, oh my God, that's my mum. And he said, okay, well, this weekend, let's balance out some of your perceptions about your mum. He says, I won't guarantee, because this all depends obviously on your own mind-body connection. You know, I've worked with people that I have helped overcome certain things, you know, in life that they were told they would never live through.
Right.
Because we balance some perceptions. So we don't know anybody's mind-body connection. It really depends on how much they want to go there. And then again, how much on a cellular level are things really shifting? Because, you know, if it's there to be for some feedback for a reason, then it's going to be there. So when he did that and he told me to do, I said, okay, cool. So that was a Saturday, Sunday program. And on the Saturday, I worked my ass off. You know, I really did. And I went to places within my perceptions about my mum that, you know, were really ingrained in me at the time. And I know exactly why it was happening at that time. It was because I was the most challenged by my mum at that time. You know, I was having relationship issues. I was having financial issues, career issues and things like that. I just gone back to a 9-to-5. You know, because I tried some other things and they, in my mum's eyes, you know, didn't work, etc. And so it was beautiful feedback, you know, beautiful bodily feedback that I chose to listen to. I chose to balance my perceptions around them. And then I was, on the Sunday, I was able to walk. I actually gave the crutches to my friend and I said, hold them while we walk to your car. And I was just shocked, you know, and now that I've been doing this for 14, 15 years, like that's just one of the many, many stories, you know, that's my personal experience, having done it for other clients, but then also being at programs where it's happened within my programs. I've had a lady who has had loads of chiropractic treatment. Her spine's been out of alignment. Suddenly we balance some stuff out to do with, her support, which is her dad, and her husband, which is the back spine. And it's just like it's all realigned again. This is stuff that, again, I don't go out there saying, I heal people.
Right.
But all I can say is that the mind and the body connection is something absolutely beautiful that when you explore, there's a hidden reason and hidden meaning behind it. I mean, you may have read Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. I don't know if you've read that, but that book is actually a culmination. Well, I'd say it's Dr. John Demartini's work of years that was taken and then published. But there are psychosomatic reasons behind why we have certain illnesses, and sometimes when we listen to them, we can really dig in deep.
That's
but like I said,
very interesting word. So, Indy, just to bring you in, like from my kind of side, there are people who have, for example, say somebody's leg is amputated, right, and the leg is completely chopped off. There's no like below the knee. There is no leg. They can come in and have what we call phantom leg syndrome, where they are
I've seen
right.
that too.
They can feel something there. So clearly there is a connection between mind and body. And the other thing you said there, psychosomatic. So there are certain conditions within medicine. Maybe it's because medicine isn't yet that advanced, but we physically cannot find pathology. We cannot find, even we biopsy, scans, blood tests. We can't find anything, but the person will have symptoms. So definitely, absolutely, there is a connection between mind and body.
So with your condition, they never actually found out what was up with the swelling and stuff. It just started to go away, I guess, after that weekend.
No, at the time, it was just diagnosed like that, right? And then it was all dormant for many, many years.
Can I guess? Can I guess? Or can I ask you a question? It's when you said it went to the eye, I started thinking, is this something rheumatological? So then my mind went to things like IBD, Crohn's, because you had the diarrhea as well. But tell me where you're going with the story, because this sounds rheumatological. That's where my mind would have gone when you said multiple joints being affected.
Yeah, in 2015, they diagnosed me with rheumatoid arthritis. So when it came, yay, 5 stars. When it came back, you see now autoimmune psychosomatic reason.
Autoimmune psychosomatic. Okay, right.
Yeah, so people with those things that you just mentioned is all about. Well, you tell me, Jazz. What's the body doing when it's having an autoimmune response? It's
attacking itself. In the same way, it's diabetes type 1, it's Crohn's disease, rheumatoid. It's just attacking itself.
So that's what we're doing.
We're attacking ourselves. Autoimmune. I really like that term. I'm going to start using that. That's going to hold a lot of weight when I say it as a doctor as well. It's like, mate, you are attacking yourself.
You ask yourself where are you beating yourself up? Where are you attacking yourself? Because that's why your body's doing it.
So out of interest then, we'll finish the story then. So 2015, you're diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Are you on any methotrexate or immunosuppression right now?
At the moment, I'm not. No. I'm actually, I work with functional nutrition and functional medicine, because that's just the alternative way that and then also work on perceptions.
When was the last time you had a flare?
Probably around January time. Actually, okay. February, when the stuff was going on with my mum.
Yeah.
So so obviously we know that the stress is coming out. Stress has come out, and
that makes sense. So
that's when the body's doing it.
So that's kind of similar to me and my IBS, then, I think, Karan. So
I wasn't going to go there, but I know
genuinely, I think it is, because the first time, if I think back to the first time that I had a flare up ever, that was when I was in a hyper stress state.
Yeah,
and that was at my brother's wedding.
Yeah.
So that was when I was in that state for like a week or so, and it was difficult. And then after that, I had to figure out afterwards and go on a very clean diet and sort of get to terms with it. And now I'm okay. But yeah.
Look, I tell people all the time, right? They don't listen to this, and this is the reason why they don't listen to this, because we live in a world of instant gratification. We have tablets, we have pills for every ill. But look, 1,000 years ago, when we didn't have aspirin, digoxin, and beta blockers, there were things that worked that fixed people, right? That's the first thing to understand. before modern medicine. Lifestyle, basically, right? Second thing is, I lost my chain of thought. Oh, this doesn't happen very often. Not on a live podcast as well.
Bring yourself back down to earth, mate. That's what it is.
Yo, it's
Correcting
humbling
your
experience.
equilibrium from getting
Didn't he just go, I'm the doctor?
He went very, very high. I'm the doctor.
doctor.
I did that. 5 stars to me. That's what you
There
just
you
did.
go. There we go. That's a live humbling experience. What was my point? It's about instant gratification. It's about
So you were talking about instant gratification. I mentioned
got it.
IBS.
Yes,
There
yes.
you go.
Carcinogens, right? So the World Health Organization will talk about carcinogens. Carcinogens are anything that are cancer causing. Okay. So now we talk about smoking, we talk about alcohol, bad things to the body. But the thing you put in your body, food, right? And this is why I like when you come in here with nutrition, I mean, is people need to start being a lot more mindful and conscious about what they put in their body for the, this is 3 meals a day at least for the majority of your life. My belief is most ailments we see, chronic disease, come and stem from what you put in your body. Absolute fact. But people do not want to hear this. And what they end up doing is just kind of playing victim mode and victim mentality. This has happened to me, bad luck, blah, 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 blah. And then the next question they ask is, just give me a pill. I just want a pill for this. So I think that's pretty cool that you're actually managing a known condition, rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah,
without
I work closely with functional medicine nutrition guys because they do the physical part of what's happening inside the system.
Correct.
And what's interesting, what's interesting is they'll tell me what's going on inside the body, and then I'll work on what's going on with their perceptions that's creating what's going on inside the body.
So it's very complementary.
So together, yeah, absolutely. But hey, I didn't really realize we were going to go all medical tonight, but I told you we'd go where we need to go.
I'm sure that there's been doctors out there that have quit their profession from saying, I don't like how medicine is just a tablet thing. There's nothing to do with like the mental side of it or how to change human psyche and stuff. I'm sure I heard someone famous say this like a few years ago. It's not with me now, but somebody definitely said that. And they're like, modern medicine needs to sort of evolve and change in that way.
I think
there is a place for it for sure. Like, as you said, the mind and body are connected. I completely agree with that. And there is a place for it, but there isn't one at the moment. It's more like a secondary or tertiary response.
It is there.
It's not the main response.
It's called lifestyle medicine. So it's becoming a specialty in itself. And it is coming through now as a recognized specialty. But yes, it's not the mainstream.
It's not the go-to thing. It's normally like, this is the problem, let me just fix it with.
What people need to understand is where medicine is very good is if you are about to die, right? No amount of mindset is going to fix that. If somebody's got a heart attack, it's blocking the artery, you need to fix that, right? Acute medicine is very, very good. Management of chronic illness is where we need more than just prescription, pill, and people becoming dependent and living into what Parson called the sick role. Until you're willing to get better, that's what he said. Until you're willing to say, I don't want to be ill anymore, you're never going to get better, right? Whereas people, they get, like you said, they get the label. This is what I have. I'm going to get my benefits, and this is my life now. Rather than thinking about what can I do in my state? How can I become empowered to do something about it? That's the way I view medicine. Remember, I sit in both camps. I'm a mindset coach, so I see the value in this stuff, and I try and bring it to the front door. So when I'm seeing the overdoses, it's how can I really get to the root cause here, rather than just sticking on the band-aid, which is like you come back next week with another thing, because I'm not addressing that root cause thing. But you're absolutely right, Indy. But more doctors need to be, more healthcare in general, man. I mean, there needs to be a revolution in that sense. But we are very left and very right.
Don't be telling my dad this. He'll be thinking that he has the answer to everything with all his Indian remedies and mindset stuff and breathing and yoga.
Okay, look, there is a science to that, man.
There has a place
there
there
is.
too.
That definitely
it has a
has a
place,
science,
but it's not the go-to thing that's going to fix it.
Listen. All I'm going to say, and you've seen this post I put on Instagram. My daddy, right? More than 80 years old, right? I posted a picture of blood pressure, Manmeet. It was like forget textbook blood pressure. It's better than textbook blood pressure. Resting heart rate was like 48 or something. She walks 5 miles a day. She was born in an era where McDonald's and KFC and all this stuff wasn't the mainstream. So she eats kardi roti. Guys, that means she eats homemade food, right? There is a science to living well. And it's been shown in that book, Ikigai, okay, when they studied about the people living in Okinawa, the island of Japan, who they have the highest population of people over 100 in the world, right? And they went to study them for a year, and what did they see? They live long because they never retire, so they have meaning and purpose to their life. They grow their own vegetables and eat fresh food, and they socialize every day. they have some sort of meaningful interaction and conversation. So definitely there is a science to living well, and now we're overcomplicating it because we overcompensate and do so much other shit, knowing that actually at some point if I do become unwell, I can just rely on these medications. Whereas before, if you do the things and you live in balance and live in equilibrium, using your words, you may not need to get to that point. That's the problem that I find. Yeah, with pleasure seeking so much that there's no end to this. You can't fill this void, man, of hedonism. You're never ever going to have enough of these things. You know?
Just to round this out, then, you've mentioned a few times the Demartini Method. What actually is it in like a nutshell?
The Demartini Method is a series of questions that allow you to come out of any kind of emotional reaction and get back into action. It's a series of questions to help you see things being on the way rather than in the way of your life. Basically, you know, helping you to see the hidden order in your apparent chaos.
Okay.
Order and chaos, yin and the yang. That's it. I love that analogy.
Okay. And has that pretty much been spot on for everything that's worked up to date?
What do you
with
mean?
all of your clients, has that worked with all of your clients up to now? Just using that sort of method.
Yeah, I mean, so much so that I dedicated my life to doing it. So, I mean, I have explored many methods out there and a lot of personal development, followed a lot of personal development, mainstream speakers and things like that. And I think it's the most, you know, there's a way that I say you've got positive thinking, negative thinking, you know, you've got positive mindset, negative mindset, and I call it an optimum mindset, which is another word for balance thinking, you know, because that's what's going to allow you to keep moving forward rather than staying in emotional. You see, because anytime you think positive about something, it takes up time and space in your mind. And sometimes you can't sleep. On the other end of the spectrum, if you think about something in your perception that's negative, it also takes up time and space in your mind and you can't sleep. But when you have an equilibrated mind and you see things being perfect for, let's just say, that day, you're able to have sound sleep.
Contentment? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, let's just say sound sleep. Because I was just talking about the sleep itself. Like it takes up time and space in your mind, and you're not able to sleep, right? But contentment, if we say it as, yes, you're able to see something to be perfect, it's not taking up time and space in your mind. Because actually, the brain, once it's equilibrated in something you thought was that you thought was positive or negative, there's no memory of it. When you go to the moment, there's a moment of presence. You know, there are certain things I worked through that were in my perception horrendous that I went through.
Right.
And when I balanced them out and I met people who were there at the time with me and they go, oh, do you remember when, you know, he did that to you? And I was like, and I was really trying hard, you know, to remember. And they're like, you're kidding us. Like, how can you not remember? And they're like, you went on about that for months, you know? And I'm going, I'm trying to find in my psyche where the emotional charge is here. And I couldn't find it. But there are certain things that I've, yeah. And there are certain things then when I do speak about them, I've gone to the moment and I can see that there's just gratitude and love in that moment, that when I'm telling the story, I'm not telling a story, I'm there in the moment. And you know, the room can't help but be in tears of inspiration, because that's how I'm sharing the story, and that's where I'm doing it from. It's not from a emotional charge. Does that make sense? So
absolutely.
So yeah, that's where the method really you know, I put it in a nutshell. That's kind of what it really helps. It breaks us, you know, helps us break through those challenges. And the challenges that hold us back also are in moments of infatuation too, right? Because the things that the things that we infatuate with, we don't want to lose, and when we lose, we grieve the loss of it. And the things that we resent, we don't want to gain, and so we grieve the gain of it as well. You know, the two forms of griefs. Yeah.
I want to touch upon something you said earlier, Manmeet, which is, I think we've had a similar experience about, I think when most people come into PD, personal development, generally you'll come across the big boys, the big fish, the ones in the red ocean, the Dean Graziosis, the Tony Robbins, Grant Cardones, people like this. You talked about this marketing machine, right? This $1 billion industry, which is, I think, what did you say at the start? It's about getting people to just think happy all the time. So why do you
positive
think
thinking industry?
Right. So yeah, that's what you said. Why is that industry so dark, and why is it so harmful and vicious if you don't know? Because from outwardly, yes, when I got into it, right? I started reading all these books and stuff and looking at it, attending seminars and courses, and then ultimately I got more lost, more confused, and I was just unfulfilled. So I was like, what the hell is this doing for me? And again, like you, I found someone who actually had a real methodology that now I teach. So what was it for you what was it for you, the journey in PD? And if somebody's looking from the outside, why do they not see the trap?
Because everybody's trying to chase a one-sided life.
Okay.
And they're trying, and it was the Buddha that said the source of all human suffering is trying to obtain what's unobtainable, this one-sided positive life, and trying to avoid what's unavoidable, which is the negative life.
Yeah,
which
is impossible. You can't do that.
Which is impossible. So, but people are fed that. They're fed the fantasy. They're sold the fantasy. And people, because of the dopamine rush, they want to keep going for it. They want to keep going for it. And they keep getting smacked. They keep getting the other side. That's the feedback. And they're not listening to the feedback. So
it's constantly just do more affirmations,
do more law of attraction. It will manifest. Just keep doing it. And so they keep going down people's funnels and buying things and trying lots of techniques and not really doing anything. Is that what they're doing?
Well, I don't know what they do, but I know I just kept I don't know what they do, but I know I kept trying to chase this one-sided life and trying to be happy. Then I thought everybody else has got it but me,
Right.
And I'm like, everybody else has got this perfect life that I'm looking for, because everybody was, I personally, I don't do Instasham or fake book. Everything I go through goes up on there, right? And it's like
oh good.
What did you call it? Instasham and fake book?
Yeah,
I love
Instasham and
man.
fake book. So because I put stuff on there that I go through in reality, and then I share with people how I overcame it. Which actually, I'm just as human as everybody else, and I'm not any exception to the universal laws that are going on, and so if I can share with people that I'm going to go through what you're going to go through, I just have a set of tools that helps me realize what's going on, and be able to overcome it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the time where you were, like you said, you were chasing what you thought was a happy life, if you had to describe it now or then, what did that look like? What was it that you were chasing at that point?
I was chasing
to be happiness.
Yeah, chasing a fantasy.
Which was what though? So what was the fantasy?
Just being happy, having money only and with no downsides, having a perfect, happy relationship with my parents, being always number one in my sales, being the number.
It's never going to happen. Like
everybody to like me,
Right. Okay.
The best thing I heard when someone said, like, I want everyone to like me, people say, shut up, you don't even like you sometimes, right? So I'm like, well, there you go. So how are you going to expect everyone else to like you? Yeah. And you're like, if you don't like everybody, so how can you expect everyone to like you?
I like this universal law. I don't know, am I allowed to swear on this? But I try to give.
I've done it loads.
Yeah, it's called the law of lesser pisses. Yeah, I'd rather piss other people off than piss my own soul off for not living by what's most important.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Ooh, some deep. All right, I think that's going to be a quote, Indy. I like that. I really like that. Right, okay, that's a really. I'm going to start using this. You mention quite often universal laws, right? And you mention them as if it sounds like, the 10 Commandments in the Bible. Is there a list somewhere? Or like, what are the universal laws?
Well, if you really want to dig down the rabbit hole, you can find them. Yes, there's quite a lot of them, dating right back to big philosophers, right? All the way back.
Plato.
So, like,
Aristotle,
Emerson, Aristotle, all the way back, and there's much I'd say likeness in them, in what they're trying to teach us. So we obviously know, as people who've learnt it over the times, even Guru Nanak Dev Ji knew of these universal laws, tried to teach it to us. and it's those who kind of took that on. And I perceive that those universal laws that have been there are present, not just in, Sikhi, they're present in
universal, which is why you call them universal laws.
Well, they're present in all the religions, but people have just misconstrued them over time. That's all it is.
And okay, so then there could be, are there one or two that you are particularly mindful or conscious about every day? Or is it one in particular that you always kind of think about and think, I can see that at play, this universal law? So people get an idea of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd say there's one specific one. If you were to say to me, what's the most important universal law? I'll tell you that in a second. But the one that I do also see a lot of during the day is this law of duality. Right. Which is basically seeing both sides. So, looking at something, if I'm, for example, I'm looking at, possibly buying a house. Before I started buying the house, when I started doing my numbers, etc., I'm looking and putting in an offer, and I'm looking at the benefits and drawbacks of my offer being accepted, so I'm not attached. I'm looking at the property and looking at the property of everything I like about it. What's the equal dislikes? So I see the property as a property, not an amazing property. Does that make sense? So anything that you're doing on a day-to-day, when you see both sides, that non-attachment comes because you see both sides. You're not infatuated with it. You're not resentful of it. You love it, because that's the true essence of love, is the complementary. Yeah. The most important universal law that in my perception there is the law of one and many. And the law of transformation, sometimes known as it's got different names. Sometimes it's known as law of one and many. Sometimes it's known as law of transformation. Sometimes it is nothing is missing. And that revolves. That is applicable in any area of your life. And I think once we really, really understand that is happening, not only just in our lives, because this is, let's say it's in between, there is recycling and reforming universes. Our cells are recycling and reforming. So therefore, anything in between, why would it be any different? Does that make sense?
At the micro level, if it's happening there, it has to be happening in between.
Yeah. So what that is that anything that we perceive to be missing is always present in a form that we just haven't recognized. And it's also, why we perceive we're missing something is because we're grieving the things that we're liking that are not in our life, in our perception. And then we'll also, grieve the fact that we've just obtained something we don't like, therefore its opposite is missing. But this goes back we learned this at chemistry. Energy is never destroyed. It's always transformed.
Converted.
Yeah. Okay. That's the universal law. But what do we do with that outside of the chemistry class, right?
Physics, nothing. Yeah.
Nobody really understands that. But actually, that universal law applies to people dying, losing businesses, losing relationships, losing money, any form of loss. This universal law really applies to.
I agree, man.
Hard hitting. Indy agrees. That takes a lot, man. Indy rarely agrees. He doesn't even agree with me, man. I spend a lot of time.
Listen, I'm the ultimate antagonizer, devil's advocate. It's the only way to get a good debate going. Doesn't necessarily mean I don't agree when I ask someone to elaborate more or I give the opposite. It just means I'm trying to understand the conversation better and see if their view actually has depth to it, not just something you've heard from someone else. So yeah.
Well, all right, mate. All right. Questions, Indy, are the best because essentially we are all ions on a quest.
Yes.
Mashallah. Oh my God. He's dropping these quotes today, man. You think Indy, you say I have quotes, yeah? I have lines? This
I don't think you have lines. You say, you say after you say something, I'm going to use that again in the future. That's what you say.
Yeah, right? I do. Yeah. Because I hear it, right? But then I get humbled, man, because I forget it. I forget it next minute. I'm like, I don't know what I said, man. Okay? All that I know is that I know nothing.
That's why this is recorded. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Cool, Indy?
Go on. You can ask the quick fire question.
You're going to give me the honours. So,
yes.
Just before we do that, Manmeet, I know you've got a course coming up. Do you want to tell everyone about the course you've got coming up?
Yeah, it's called Life's Block Busting Boot Camp.
Life's blocking boot
No,
Block
buster.
busting,
Bust blocking,
busting
there.
block. Can you imagine
Fucking hell,
how
man.
do you bust a block instead of block busting?
My brain just goes there, man. That's quite a mouthful.
I think he's
right?
hungry, you know. I think he needs feeding.
Poklagia. I have not eaten. This is
Have you
very
not
correct.
eaten? Or neither
No,
have I.
I'm-
There you go. See,
Right,
that's what it is. I think maybe I should be going down that route too, seeing as I haven't eaten either.
We need next time in London. We need to have. I want to go for that walk with you. Yeah, let's go for that walk.
No
to have some
problem.
spirituality, and then we'll go to Dishum. All right, we'll have some good food. Yeah, deal. That's what we're gonna do. Right. So sorry. Yes, you've got a course coming up.
Yeah. So it's basically a 2-day, and because of obviously with Corona going on at the
COVID.
moment,
Yeah.
it's all online.
Okay.
The couple of things that I firstly go through, I've talked about the most important thing to understand ourselves, which I said was the GPS. So I take people
Yeah.
through understanding what their own individual GPS is first. I also then go through the Demartini Method in detail, and I help people overcome basically fears, guilt. By the way, just on a side note, guilt is the number one block to hold our finances back. So I have some pretty inspiring stories. The moment we do guilt, overcome guilt,
Interesting.
people's finances go up, which is so inspiring to see.
Ching ching.
Yeah, and then we look at obviously the law of one and many. So I then on one of the days I help them go through taking a perceived loss that they've had in their life,
Right.
and we look at dissolving that as well. So looking at all the blocks, whether they be personally or professionally, and we look at applying the methodology to that. It's basically just taking any even. Sometimes people come to me because they've got perceived painful memories, right? Sometimes people go, my life's just at a plateau. I'm doing pretty okay, but I want to do better. How do I do that? So, I have a varied kind of audience that come to it. But
That's my next question. So if somebody's listening to this podcast, right, who is this for? Now, clearly it'll benefit everybody, right? But who is it like especially they're going to benefit from this?
Just gonna ask me that question. Who's your ideal client?
Talking
I'm like,
about
"Oh,
it.
still figuring it out. No, honestly, it is anybody. It is really anybody, because I do have anybody, but I know I want to start targeting certain people. But I'd say, it's for business owners that want to, that do want to unlock these blocks to increase their business, understand their genius, as I said, their genius priority system, understand how to enhance their personal and professional relationships. Because the thing with business owners is if something's going on personally, and this is for people who are in Enneagram,
completely wrecked.
Completely stops them from moving ahead, and they don't have a resourceful way of approaching their challenges.
Diagnosing. It's a diagnosis, isn't it? They don't diagnose, and if you don't diagnose correctly, how can you treat? You can't.
Yeah. So I'm giving them practical tools that they can learn all the way and basically apply to their life straight away. People are applying them, and then I also show. I give people I'd say when I do it, some people have said it in the past, and they can go to many goal setting workshops, but I'll give them one thing. On all goal setting, that they'll never need to go to another goal setting workshop ever again.
Ooh, guys, you better hear. If that's not cockiness, I don't know what is, right? But no, it's not cockiness, right? It's confidence.
No, listen.
This is a woman who knows. She knows.
No, you know what I tell my clients at the beginning? I'm going to give you 2 transformative days, and I'm equally going to fuck you up. So I'm under no
Balanced. There
I'm
you
under
go.
no illusion that I am equally serving you and disturbing you, because you won't be able to talk to people the same way. You won't be able to view life the same way. The people around you are going to think you're crazy. Some friends won't even want to talk to you anymore. I break friendships up because I give this way of thinking to people. So I'm under no illusion that my work does both sides.
Indy, you heard it here. It's a tagline. I'm going to fuck you up, right? That's probably the only time I saw on this podcast in like 26 episodes. That was quite swear-worthy, right? So I do like that strap line. Now, here's a challenge for you, Manmeet. I'm going to send Indy to your course, right? He has multiple elements Do something for this
You're gonna
guy.
Send me to her course.
Your wrist, your back, your goda, your whatever's wrong with you, right?
Yeah,
Your
but,
daddy.
but that's because I actually need surgery on my wrist.
No,
right?
no. Listen, which side was it? Your left. It's a feminine problem, bro.
Yes.
It's a feminine problem, right?
It's not a female problem.
You don't know that until it's explored. We need to ask the right questions to you and see what comes out. Okay? It'll be
Where's
live.
it?
It'll be
Your
live.
left, your left wrist is hurting.
My left wrist, yeah, my left wrist is pretty bad. Yeah.
So obviously, what you're not able to straighten and stuff.
No, I can straighten it and stuff. It's just it gets immobile. Like if I try and up weight or something like that, or if I try and lift more or put it in weird positions. So if I do that, I'm in a lot of pain.
So like a press up, for example.
Yeah, so I have to press ups on my knuckles. I can't do press up straight.
Ah, okay. Well, usually like the wrist and stuff, like inflexibility around some females' views about you or their views in general.
Flexibility because I can't flex my wrist.
Bro, I want this live. Okay, we talk about doing a live podcast. We need to have you intervention live and just
Man,
yes,
this guy.
But he in from a physical sense, he's very flexible, right? I don't know if you've seen that program on Netflix, the hot yoga,
So,
like Bikram
essentially,
yoga.
Just
This
before
guy.
he jumps into
This
this,
guy,
right, I have hyperflexibility in a lot of my body. So
There you go.
yeah, I can.
So is that being balanced out where you're inflexible in the body, in the mind then?
Maybe could be, but then again, I like to think
Tera
that I'm
diagnosis
open-minded.
ho gaya.
No, but I like to think that I'm generally open-minded about a lot of things. Like I'm open to a lot of experiences and things that people say.
Yeah,
often.
I'd say so. I'd say so. You are.
And Manmeet, so if they want to register, if they want to find you, right? Let's talk about the registering first. What are the dates and how can they book their place on this amazing course?
So it's the 16th and 17th of what are we in? July. I was like thinking, wait, is it June? No, it's 16th and 17th. No, it's not. It's the 10th and 11th of July.
Okay.
Totally, like, not even know my
I'm
dates.
not going to edit that out. If you get a bunch of people attending to the wrong day, that's your fault. That's not my fault. Right?
So good.
No, it's the 10th and 11th of July. And they can go onto my website, which is www.optimumperformancesolutions.com.
Damn, son.
Nice long.
Nice small one, yeah.
Yeah, and you just go under events, and all my
Okay.
events are actually there. So I have basically the blockbusting boot camp,
Right.
as well as the loss workshop. For anybody that's wanting to really dive deep just into their loss. Obviously,
Right.
the 2-day we do it, but we don't do it as deep as we do on the. Most people end up doing the 2 days and then want to dive deeper into
Gotcha.
the loss. So
Okay. Well, thank you for being such a wonderful guest. And before you leave, we are now going to do what we call the quick fire round. So, no thinking, right? You're good at that, being present, right? You just
Okay.
need to tell me what's popping in your head, okay?
okay.
We're gonna have some fun now. So, there's a couple of Punjabi ones, there's a couple of non-Punjabi ones, okay? Right. Aloo wale paranthe, methe wale paranthe.
Aloo wale,
Okay, she knows. Achar or chutney?
definitely. Achar,
Yellow dal, black dal.
black dal,
Ribena or squash?
ribena,
Favorite place in the world?
Australia.
Australia. Okay. Is it about the journey or the result?
Or the journey.
Okay. Virat Kohli or Dhoni? Oh. yes. Yes.
Okay,
look at that.
For those of you that don't know,
Listen,
that's a cricket
listen.
reference, right?
The looks, Virat Kohli, the personality, I say, Dudi.
You gotta pick. Okay, fine. Best batsman
Okay,
of all time.
Virat Kohli, that's it. Let's go. with it.
Oh my God, no loyalty. Oh, best batsman of all time.
Oh. I think Dhoni. I'd like to say Dhoni.
Wow, not Sachin. Wow, what the hell's wrong with you, man?
Oh no, of all time, yeah. Everyone says Sachin though. You know, that's like
That's
a
you mix it up.
norm.
It's a norm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think somebody who's kind of like an unsung hero, I'd say.
Is Dhoni.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, as captain of India, he won everything with India. So
Yeah.
there's no better captain than him. Right. ODI or T20?
T20.
That's one day international or T20 cricket. Just to give English translations to what Karan's saying.
Bro, people understand these
say,
terms,
you-
man.
You're
they?
doing me loads of
Basic.
cricket
they?
stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think they do, Karan. Right?
Mentoring or coaching?
Both.
Okay, fine. And finally, contentment or fulfillment?
Fulfillment.
Interesting. How do you differentiate the two?
I think an element of fulfillment is embracing both sides of life. Contentment, in most people perceive it to be like you're at this space where you've done it. Fulfillment is still going. You know, contentment, you're like I'm there, I've got it. Fulfillment is I'm still going, and I'm embracing both sides. And I think I'll leave you with a quote with that BJ Palmer, who says, on your journey, of course, this is beautiful when we talk about the cockiness and we talk about the pride and blame. And he says, take no credit, take no blame, just keep focused on your chief aim. So anything you do is not pride worthy or blame worthy. So just keep focused and keep going.
I like it. I like it a lot. Indy, round it off for us.
Good, man.
Round it off,
give us
Karen.
your Instagram handles and Twitter handles or whatever that people can follow you on.
So on Instagram, I'm Manmeet_Chowdhry. And then on Facebook, it's Manmeet Chowdhry, CHOWDHRY.
And you've got a YouTube channel.
Yes, Optimum Performance Solutions YouTube channel.
There you go.
Optimum.
Always got to get the plugs in, man. Always got to get them in.
There you go.
Right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Let us know your thoughts on this episode. If you liked it, please give us a shout. If you didn't like it, please tell Garan why and not me. Yeah, cool.
Listen,
Thank
if
you so much.
You want to get fucked up, you come to Manmeet, right? That's it. That's all needs to be said.
No,
right?
thank you guys so much. It's been so much fun. It's just time is just like flown by. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Flow state, man. That's it.
No
We're in flow
problem.
state. Yeah.
Chat to you guys soon.